the snurf base to pinpoint her on the auditorium grid the moment her number was announced, but why deprive the suspense of its artificiality? There was an argument that she would have been just as surprised either way, but there was a counter-argument to the effect that, the sensoria of audience members being so damped as it was, her reaction time might have been sufficiently slow to mitigate proceedings already protracted by ceremonial comparison. Although unasked for its analysis, the snurf base readily produced an inverse Fourier transform comparing an average winner's reaction profile to a typical audience damping effect, though programmed from square one to encourage damping effects. Management determined that this one went too far. Red means glared down along the steep angle between the convention floor and the skybox, the latter which, for some reason, the decorator had lately lined with mohair. Long, coarse orange mohair. Better it were kelp, stranded by an unusually high tide, left to fester in the sun, reeking and hopping with sand fleas and flies, than synthetic mohair that reeked ever so slightly of formaldehyde. No sign of Tipsy. They arrived together. She left him almost immediately and hadn't reappeared. He listlessly sipped his calique. When a man has let his life get to where his beer doesn't taste right, matters have proceeded a lagoon too far. The ceremony had happened only once before, some 14 years ago, and he knew that a great deal, if not all, of what he was seeing was animatronic, edited reruns with computer-generated fills. He didn't trust what he was seeing, and he never trusted parades, pyrotechnics, conventions, and speeches either. So she was genuinely surprised. Not to worry. Her personal squirt match micro-manipulated her reaction much as surrounding squirt patches coped their response, in inverse proportion to the square of their distance away from her. Her name was Melanie Hecatome. She was 17 years old, and she'd lived all her life on the 74th floor of the Trans Bay Tower in downtown San Francisco. What a coincidence. As it happened, the shrine package included 3 days and 2 nights at the Disney Pier at the foot of Bryant Street, right under the Bay Bridge. So what if, right under the Bay Bridge, there were only 5 or 6 tides per annum of sufficient height to permit even the second largest ship in Disney's cruise line, Scrooge McPrincess, from tying up there? Each visit rang the gong to the tune of some 2 million euro shells. Pressured by the vendor consortium informally known as frijolistas, corporate tiers were working 24/7 on a series of locks, but the Bay, hydraulic manifesto that it is, was proving recalcitrant. Anyway, what a coincidence it would be, as the announcer pointed out, if the atmosphere were to be conducive to such productivity on her day of days, as it often was, in days of yore in San Francisco and will be again, especially after the code for the Trans Bay Environmental Machine Works, formerly known as Yerba Buena Island, is debugged, which will have to wait until this last bond issue is 90% Chinese-seated. If all goes well, however, Melanie Hecatome could walk to her lying-in suite. Then we'll have a parade and fireworks. The delegates couldn't have cheered louder if they'd thought the propaganda actually meant something. Their response, piped in with the music, almost overwhelmed the old Condor Silversteed hit, "I Need a New Patch." The flesh and cartilaginous delegates cheered because, heck-a-darn said and done, Melanie Hecatome was one of their own. If it could happen to her, it could happen to anybody. Officer Oscar Few happened to be the PED